to play now. Put me in the game now. I came here to prove it, I'm ready to do it, I can't be afraid now. Put me on the stage now, I'm ready to rage now. I feel like an animal stuck in a cage and I'm ready to break out. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. This time, like the last time, you better get ready to race to the top. Ready to
What flag is that? Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Apex Racing TV and the Radical Sports Cars YouTube page, of course, for this, the Radical Cup iRacing Invitational. This is a global event where Radical drivers from all over the world have descended on the Francorchamps circuit for round 5 of our Invitational season. I'm Andrew Woodhouse, and I'm joined by Tom Drewer, as usual, with Scott Newton on the cameras. And Tom, we're here at Spa. I think it's a bit of a broken record talking about how great this circuit is. We were having a little bit of a chat about that before we came on air. A wonderful place to go racing.
Absolutely, isn't it? You can think of all those famous passes that are done between the long straightaway and Eau Rouge, the top of Eau Rouge, and of course some big moments over the years at Eau Rouge itself. I think of that Ricardo Zonda crash and a few others. So this circuit is a spectacular one, as you mentioned. It will be the site of Radical Racing later in the year. The SR1 Cup and the Radical Challenge Championship taking to Francorchamps in November, Andrew. So we're really looking forward to this one today, a precursor of things to come in the real world.
Yeah, I think some people will be wanting to get an early marker down potentially for that one, and see that qualifying's well underway. In fact, not very long of that session still to go. Of the 20-minute qualifying, we've got just a minute and a half left, so we may be treated to some very, very fast laps indeed coming towards the end of the session. And Kamari Odom is out on the lap at the moment. We're looking now at Paul Clark. He's currently down in 23rd place, coming through Rivage in the middle sector, the corner with no name, which is now called all sorts of things. I think it was either called Liège or it's called Jackie Hicks Corner. I think there's a couple of names for it. Tom Mills goes up in 6th place. 2 minutes 13.1. The pole position time at the moment, 2:12.2. Angus Waddell having a great run out there. And we're looking at Gerhard Watzinger, the American. He's coming into the bus stop chicane. When does he brake? He brakes quite well. Doesn't overshoot the first part. You've got to be, can maybe give a little bit on the first part. Oh, that might be an off track, Tom. He might have just gone a little bit wide. May well have just invalidated his lap there.
It's so difficult around this circuit. You mentioned some of those other corners and the curve as well. It seems that they're very excitable, the iRacing stewards, when it comes to this circuit. You step over the curb, and what I think a real-world racer would consider just using all the exit is actually penalised. So we'll see that a bit today, and I suspect that's having quite an impact on these results in qualifying. Impressive performance by Tom Mills in 6th. Mark Tranter also up there. Of course, Alex Ellis, he's done well, hasn't he, the last few events, and he's right up there. And Dan Webster setting a good time.
David Jarvis is going to come across, and I wonder if he's going to trouble the pole position time. No, he does not. In fact, he's 3/10 slower. He did set a purple sector earlier on in the lap, but sadly for him, there's a spin coming out of the final corner as Mark Tranter comes through, crosses the line. I'm not sure who the spin is. Paul Crabb was in 10th. Does he improve? Let's see. Doesn't look like any improvement for Crabb. So he will start in 10th place. And this is Darrell Taylor. Taylor comes across 1 personal best sector, 2 personal best sectors. What does that give him overall? Where does it put him? 2:13.19. He does improve, Tom, but he doesn't gain any places.
It's amazing how competitive this field, isn't it? You know, every week we say that, but look at these times, just tenths of a second separating these guys. And I see Nathan Jones is still on a lap. It looks like Cyril Stanke is also trying to put one in, but Angus Waddell on top of all of these competitors from around the world. Look at this. The Canadian flag, the British flag, the Australian flag, the American flag, the Jamaican. It's awesome. This is radical racing, and absolutely to its core of this race the world concept that we have with radical sports cars. And of course, we're looking forward to going racing all around the world, whether that's in Australia, in the US. Next week, of course, for our final, we'll be at Road America just 1 week before we go live at Road America with the SVRA.
So Stanke does improve and goes 14th. Yeah, like I said, I've been really impressed with how with the diversity of the field here in this competition over the last several weeks. And here comes David Jarvis then. I believe, he will be having to come into the pits this time. I'm pretty sure his lap was after the checkered flag, but he's going to come across anyway and just see what he can do just to finish the qualifying session off. But yeah, he didn't get that time in time. He'll be starting from 3rd place, which is still a very, very good position to be in. A good chance, Tom, probably of getting up into 2nd place, into the hairpin maybe on the 1st lap.
Absolutely. That hairpin, of course, causing chaos just about every year, I think, in Formula One. I hope we don't see that kind of thing today. I think the drivers are going to really have to watch the rolling start as well, coming through that final chicane. It's super tight. It really does curve back on itself. So hopefully everyone can make it to the line, let alone down into that first corner and out of it.
Yeah, that's true. We've seen over the past so many years on the channel that many accidents can take place at that last chicane, even on the parade lap. So yeah, we'll see what goes down. We're about to get the grid on the screen, I believe, in just a few seconds, just as the session ticks over. And the session has indeed ticked over, and we're going to bring you the starting order in just the second. Welcome to everybody watching, of course, on YouTube, on the Apex Racing TV channel, on the Radical Sports Cars channel, and on Facebook as well, on Apex Racing TV's Facebook page. We've got the chat going as well, so if you've got a question for myself or for Tom or for anybody, put it in as a comment, and we'll see if we can get to you. I mean, we may struggle. The action's fast and furious in this league. We will see. Angus Waddell then on pole position, 2:12.229. good time indeed. Ahead of Dan Webster in second place. The second row is made up of David Jarvis and Alex Ellis. Mark Tranter is fifth ahead of Tom Mills. Darrell Taylor in seventh and Joshua Peacock in eighth. Ben Island in ninth ahead of Paul Crabb. Inigo Anton representing the Philippines in 11th, with Premislav Pianashek in 12th. 13th is Chris Short, and 14th lies Sil Stanky. Dave Tweedley in 15th ahead of Tom Nuxall. Horatio Brown goes from 17th ahead of Nathan Jones. 19th is Nathan Brumby, and then JJ Aston. Matt Anderson, another Australian, in 21st ahead of Gerhard Wortzinger. Paul Clark in 23rd. Jacek Zielonka in 24th. 25th is Brendan Wright. Austin Riley, the Canadian, in 26th. Marcus Dunker in 27th. Ross Elliott then 28th. 29th for Joe Nuxall. 30th, Patrick Jamin. Jan Sotelo in 31st. Jeremy Franco 32nd. Then it's Patrick Wilmot. Drew Altman. Pravin Lohr, another Filipino, I believe. Nick Bain in 36th. And then 37th will be Kamari Odom. And starting at the back will be Darren Leung.
Wow, what a grid. 37 cars taking to the track. They are behind the Porsche pace car. And you can see the drivers just jostling there, just warming up the tyres like they do in the real world. It will be a relatively short run down into this chicane, so the guys will have to get ready here. Hopefully they can remain side by side through these final couple of corners. It's already pretty much racing.
Yeah, Waddell, he's gunned it early. That's maybe a smart idea. The green flag flies then at Francorchamps. The race is well and truly on. Everybody going into La Source. Paul Crabb making some moves. And Paul Crabb's already taken 3 places then on the run into the first corner. Great start by the British driver Angus Waddell. Then he's flying up Eau Rouge and over the top of Radion for the first time. Dan Webster follows in second place, but he's already 6/10 behind. But we will see the slipstream in effect in the Radical SR8s, especially down this Kemmel Straight, the long Kemmel Straight indeed. And look at this, Tom, 2 by 2.
Unbelievable as they head down into Le Combe. We'll see there's a little bit of brake lock-up, a little bit of dust flying, cars side by side down throughout the pack. But everyone so far having a pretty clean start. That's really amazing around this circuit, Andrew.
Yeah, they did a great job of avoiding each other into Le Combe. And Waddell, he's trying everything he knows to try and get away. Might be a couple of people dropping down. I think we have had an accident, maybe in the middle sector, maybe in the hairpin. Yes, we have indeed at Rivage. That's Austin Riley, Darrell Taylor, Ben Island, I think, are the ones involved. Maybe Joshua Peacock as well. But heading through the middle sector then on the way towards Pouon. And Brown, we see him there trying to change. Oh, and off goes Nathan Jones.
Oh, look at that. It looks like he might have some damage. So Nathan Jones, one of the technicians from Radical Sports Cars, of course, he's been helping us with these setups. And I must admit, it's been a beautiful setup he's come up with this weekend. The SR8. Oh, a huge accident. There's a car cartwheeling through the air. Massive damage on that one.
Paul Clark was the victim of it, looked like.
We'll see the replay here. So what happens? On board now with Paul Clark as he comes into the right-hander.
Oh! Well, he goes a bit wide, and then someone else, I think, went wider. Wow, there's someone. I'll tell you what, somebody's missed their braking point by an awful long way. Yep.
Yeah, he just got absolutely served. Wow, what an incident. And then we had
there's someone in the grapple. Yeah. Well, I'm going to blame you for this. You spoke too soon about the clean start. I think, but nevertheless, lap 2 it is for this 35 minutes race.
And Marcus Zunker in the thick of it, isn't he? So the 66 of Zunker, the German. The pack is quite tight. Nathan Jones, who we mentioned before, was saying that the slipstream is so important around this circuit, makes such a big difference. I can see that Dan Webster and is also having some fun out there.
I don't know if Chaz Draycott's watching this, but he'll like if that's showing up on the screen as a split livery, he'll enjoy that. He does like a split livery on Chaz, but as they're going through the Fagnes chicane, then now. Oh, sorry, Lecom that was, wasn't it? And then David Jarvis coming through, and who on awaits him? What a corner this is, Tom.
Oh, unbelievable, isn't it? This double apex corner. You can see the cars in the middle of that complex using all the track on their right-hand side as they try and open up the radius between those two. But David Jarvis now in the lead, so Angus Waddell down to 4th. So that's big news in lap 2.
Well, yeah, I didn't actually see what happened to him. To be fair, to see him drop down the order like that, but yeah, Waddell, I must admit, it didn't really cross my mind that he dropped down, but yeah, he has indeed. And now it's Webster using the power to draft up right to the back of Jarvis, but we see the move then. It was on the Kemmel straight.
So I wonder whether the slipstream just caught him out. He goes to the inside. The others have got the slipstream.
They're all going. They've just freight trained him completely, Tom. They've just sailed past him. And Webster's taken the lead while we're watching all this, goodness me.
So a fantastic race up front, isn't it? 4 cars duking it out.
And this isn't going to be the last of it. This is not going to be the last of it at all. He might have a 0.6 of a second lead, Dan Webster, but we saw that wasn't enough. And you see now 7 cars in this battle. And I'm going to say it, this is probably our pack that's going to have the chance to win the race today. Webster, Jarvis, Ellis, Waddell, Mills, Crabb and Tranter.
And look at this slipstream. Sorry to interrupt. Look at the slipstream.
Oh my word.
Alex Ellis just pops out and starts driving past his opposition. These guys, this is like a Formula V race from Australia. If anyone's watching from Australia, I used to participate in that series, and this is what it was like. Just a game of chess for lap after lap. It wasn't about, being in front. It was about setting yourself up for the pass on that second to last lap, the last lap, then the final straight away. And I think we're going to have that again here today. The slipstream is providing such a critical component to this race.
Something I think we missed, we've been told on the chat that Tom Mills might have just hit Waddell off screen, and Waddell has got some damage as a result. In fact, no, I think he had the damage beforehand, look. Yeah, it's already crumpled.
The good news is the rest of the car doesn't look too bad, does it? I mean, the wing is straight. You can see the wing end frame bent on the car. We're on board with Tom Mills. It's coming down into that chicane. Oh, and they got really close there as the flames out of the V8 engines of the SR8.
And that was Webster who was leading, Tom, and he ended up 3rd at the end of that exchange. And the leads, well, Ellis is taking the lead now off Jarvis. Jarvis is fighting back into the chicane, I think. But here's Matt Anderson. Oh, and there's a lock-up in front, and off goes JJ Aston. Oh no, it's Dave Tweedley, sorry. Tweedley off, but he gets back on just about.
And Andrew, I think our friend from Australia, Matt Anderson's got some damage there, so he's got a little bit of a crippled car. You can see the rear wing on the left-hand side.
And that's going to cause serious trouble around this circuit. You're completely right. The other comparison I would have in terms of the kind of race we're going to get, if you've seen a 125cc motorbike race, a Moto3 race or something similar to that nobody wants to be in front on the last lap. That's probably what's going to happen here.
And I'm just watching another monitor. Paul Crabb has come into this motor race as well. So he is sitting in 6th. And you can see there he's past Mark Tranter. And he's looking pretty racy with Dan Webster now in his sights. So Paul Crabb in that classic Jaguar paint scheme. It's great to see all the drivers really getting their artistic skills in this one as Paul Crabb runs wide through the double apex corner. So I wonder whether he'll have to slow down a bit.
You must have heard us talking about it. But I tell you what, he tends to he tends to run very, very well in the races, does Crab. Not sure about one lap pace that he has really, but certainly in the races he's an absolute star. And he was involved in that amazing race we had at motorsport a few weeks back, which was pretty legendary. And David Jarvis, Tom, he's trying to get away, but it's futile really at the moment, as here comes Ellis now around the outside, and he's not really going to have to overtake him. He's just going to just drive right past him.
The problem is, you can be as clean and as smooth as you can be, but the slipstream is no match for that. The drivers behind, forming that train, have got a car in front cutting the air, so now it's Alex Ellis's turn to try and pull away.
Sometimes feel like a bit of a fool when you're in the front.
What will he do, Andrew? Ellis, he's got a little bit of a gap now, you can see, but Jarvis with Mills all behind him. And Mills now is going to get that slipstream. Look at the freight train come up against Ellis. So this is where the cars will pop again down this straightaway into Lacombe.
And Ellis is going to get a slipstream on Jarvis. Oh, he very nearly got them all.
A beautiful job by Jarvis. Mills now in P2. Ellis relegated to third. Waddell there in fourth. Paul Crabb in fifth. And this is really a freight train. The leaders have managed to gap the rest of the field here. So everyone, Tranter, and for that matter, Dan Webster, who's now surprisingly at the back of that pack.
Poor old Webster, he was leading the way 2 laps ago, and now he's at the back, but this is what happens. And it looks like Tranter and Webster have actually fallen off the back of this a little bit, but I think Tranter might have the pace to just get back onto this group. They really need to keep contact, because if they don't, then these guys are going to be away very, very quickly indeed. And Jarvis then driving a great race, it has to be said. He started third, he's now up into the lead. Tom Mills started in 6th place, he's up to 2nd, but really it's kind of irrelevant, his track position at the minute. And you've got to wonder now, Tom, whether the drivers are even going to be wanting to go for the lead, because really, can you do a lot with it when you get it?
Well, that's right, and I think it's about trying to work out the strategy now. You're racing in this pack, whether it's first, third, fifth, you've got to try and work out what the game plan's going to be. We've got a number of laps left to go in this 35-minute race. Where do you want to be positioned on that second to last lap? Where on the last lap? Where in this final straight coming up to that final chicane do you need to be in the pack to be in the right position to get this win? It reminds me of a race I did back in Australia at Phillip Island, which is another big fast-flowing circuit like this one. And we were racing into Honda hairpin. We're all looking around at each other in the top pack and hoping someone would go eventually. I think we were all braking at the sort of 500-meter mark, not the 50-meter mark. And that's what's going to happen in this race. It is going to be a bit of a game of chess. So Tom Mills now flies the flag on. We've had a big accident back here.
Tweedley.
So who's that? Tom Nuxall involved, is he?
Dave Tweedley, maybe Ireland was in that one as well. Oh yeah, Nuxall's got damage. I don't know if that's a result of that accident or whether he had that anyway, but well, Dave Tweedley's car has seen better days indeed. And here we go up the hill then, and you were spot on. He's going to cop some, isn't he? Is Nuxall, I think, as a result of this crash. Oh, he tried to go on the inside. That's a huge one.
That is a nasty accident. And
I don't
lucky
think
for us,
I don't think Nuxall got anything of it.
No, well, lucky for us, it's just iRacing, but I want to see a wild incident. Google Radical SR8 at Eau Rouge, and you'll see just how strong these cars are. Unbelievable. These FIA safety cells, of course, a space frame chassis, extremely strong. And Ben Ireland, somehow, he almost looked like he was going to get away with that, but the damage too much. But the real world car is extremely strong. Drivers walking away from big accidents, which is nice to see. And as I say, there's a big one that's happened in Eau Rouge in the past.
I mean, Tweedley there, I don't know if he closed the door a little bit too late. I think he thought he'd covered it off, realised he'd left the car's width, maybe panicked and just came over, and he was already there, wasn't he, with Ireland. But yeah, well, that's them out. And oh no, into Eau Rouge, too wide here. Oh, well, it was for a second. Paul Crabb, Mark Tranter just testing out. Oh, and cutting the course there is Webster, and that might cost him dearly. Surely he'll get a slow-down penalty for that.
They are just vying for position every lap. This is awesome. So Alex Ellis now takes the lead. Again, Tom Mills in second, David Jarvis. So down to third. It's just like it's like picking straws at the top of this one. Everyone is having a go.
Ooh. Lock up from Mills. He's trying hard out there. They're all trying hard. We'll give them that. Ellis. Oh, he hits the curb very hard through Liège there. And he unsettled him. He ran wide. It lost a lot of the momentum that he'd gained. And now Mills is right on his diffuser. Goes to the outside into the Fagnes chicane. Can he go around the outside? No, he can't. He stays inside the slipstream, and that's probably smart, Tom, with Blanchimont coming up.
Absolutely. The big trick here will be this will give the guys an opportunity to get some speed. So Ellis in the lead. What can he do? He's trying to be smooth, as we mentioned before. Mills looking behind him. Pops to the outside.
Oh, I tell you, that's going to work.
A little bit of damage on Mills's car. Mills into the lead. Can he make it stick? That's the question. Look at this lovely racing room given by Ellis and Mills. They know that this is just a bit of fun at the moment. There's plenty of time left on that ticket, so there's no point giving the race away just yet. I've always sort of wondered, and perhaps Andrew, you can tell me. The real world races obviously have a lot of racecraft. You know, many of these guys have been racing go-karts, and then they jump into the radicals, move up from things like the SR1 to the SR3 to the SR8. So they're always racing in close quarters. How do you think that is that an advantage to the real world racer as opposed to the iRacer, or is it just something you get just as equally as used to on the sim?
I think. Oh, it's Ellis keeps that one. I think it purely depends on experience, because, so, I mean, Ash Sutton's the example I would give, the 2017 BTCC champion. I would say he's one of the best examples of how iRacing can aid you, because he's raced, my goodness, this is Aston and Pinashek, absolutely neck and neck. Oh, a bit of contact between them. Having a look at the inside is Pinashek. Oh no, that's bad driving. Oh dear. Well, there was never a gap there, and Pinashek doing more damage to the front of his car than he's already got.
Yeah, that was a bit uncalled for, wasn't it?
Yeah, he was never going to be allowed the room on the inside, and he just decided, well, I'm going for it anyway. No, so Ash Sutton raced in the and still races in the ARL TCR, and he's done so for many years on Thursday nights, and that's against fields of 40 to 60 touring cars. And he did say himself that, you know, I don't have an exact quote, but I have, you know, he has said that it's helped his racecraft quite massively over the years.
Andrew, we're watching
those 40 cars.
We're watching Austin Riley on screen. What a comeback by this kid. P10 now for Austin Riley from Canada. He had that moment on lap 1, and now he's stormed back through the field. Of course, Austin running in the Radical Canada Cup, the Canadian East Cup. He'll also be joining us for the Blue Marble Championship in North America. And I know he's just really waiting to go racing because, of course, the border's shut between Canada and North America at the moment, so he has to sit out the first round, most likely, at Road America. And he's under pressure now.
Last Horse, is he? No. It's a shame, Tom, because Last Horse is a really good overtaking opportunity, but what follows kind of negates an overtaking to the hairpin.
That's right, Matt Anderson coming through now, just sizing the opposition up. He gets a clean line. You can see that Austin Riley jumping over the curbs. He's under pressure. The mirrors are full. And Matt Anderson, with that crippled car, is trying to make the most of this long straightaway.
Cyril Stanky's in there as well, Tom. He's right in the middle.
Yeah, and so Austin Riley, P10.
Have we lost someone from the front group? Have we lost Dan Webster?
I think we have. It looks like Waddell's not there either. So what has happened at the front of this field?
Waddell's
Alex
down
Ellis.
18th place.
Alex Ellis still in the lead. Tom Mills, he's up 4 positions for this race. A fantastic run for him so far. David Jarvis just holding out in 3rd place. Paul Crabnow in 5th. Paul in 4th. Tranter in 5th. Chris Short in 6th. Ingo Anton in 7th. Tom Nuxel up to 8th. So that's a great run by him, up 8 places. But what has happened to 2 of our other leaders? Waddell down in 18th. Here's a replay, perhaps.
We're going to find out. We're going to find out now. Oh, Waddell spins, coming through Puon, loses control of the rear, and then Webster, who went wide to try and avoid Waddell, hits a bump on between the curb and the AstroTurf. It looked like maybe a seam in the concrete or something, and he ended up getting big damage from that. So there's Waddell recovering, and does he crash trying to go around the chicane? Oh yeah, his car's broken. There's something wrong with it. Can we look at the Webster one again, please, Scott, if we can? Can we just have a look and maybe go on board with him and maybe see exactly what happened coming through? And, oh, there he goes. He goes wide. Look, you see him in the background. He goes wide, Tom, and he bashes into something that's raised, I guess.
Yeah, I guess the curb, and then it almost looked like there's a bit of AstroTurf right at the end there. And that's where he seems to come to blows. So the start of the AstroTurf, launching Dan Webster, that was reminiscent of Daniel Ricciardo in Melbourne, wasn't it?
Melbourne, yeah.
Where he got onto the grass and all of a sudden got launched by the drain. I actually did inspect the circuit afterwards, and that was amazing. There was quite a divot, and you can see here Webster holds on. He thinks he's set, and then all of a sudden the car comes unstuck into the wall. He's out. So Dan Webster, a great run for him, but it's come to an end. Mark Tranter in 4th place. We're looking at Joshua Peacock, the Australian, the 77, the green, the bright green car, chasing down Primal Racing School's Patrick Wilmot. So Wilmot, an instructor, knows the Radicals very, very well.
Yeah, and I mean, he's showing it. He's up to 15th. He started in 33rd position. So, and Darren Leung is having a fantastic run as well. He started in the British driver started in 14th. Started in 37th. He's up to 14th place. It's a hell of a run from the very back row.
It's unbelievable. There are some amazing performances in this race. I think that's got to be the Hard Charger Award so far. Darren Long, 23 places gained, unreal. I thought Austin Riley was doing a good job, but Darren, really impressive. So, Angus Waddell, 17th position. He's coming up behind Joshua Peacock now. And then that Primal Racing car. It's really neat to see these real-world liveries. And if you are listening in from North America, it's a great opportunity to get started, get involved with Radical Sports Cars. Check out Primal Racing. It is a school based at Atlanta Motorsport Park. You can get in behind the wheel of an SR1. That's a junior academy car. Learn the ropes. Learn just how confidence-inspiring these radical sports cars are. And you'll see plenty of beautiful machines from the SR3 to the RX8.
Wait, sorry to interrupt, Tom, but wheel-to-wheel contact between Crab and Tranter going through Rivage. It's getting physical and feisty up in the top 5. And, well, this might allow Mills and Jarvis to just make their escape.
They've got to be careful, don't they, Crab and Tranter? There's just no point for the Biff and Barge at the moment. They're really hurting their chances. They've got to work together. If they were smart, you know, you'd be in the real world, you'd be pointing as you come alongside your fellow competitor, pointing to the next guy in front, saying, come on, let's go, we'll work together. We'll slipstream each other. We'll make it happen. We'll fight it out for the position. When the checkered flag's flying, but not now. They've got to chase down Tom Mills and David Jarvis, who seem to pop out and pass each other all sorts of places around this circuit.
Some drivers may use a different finger to point with, depending on their persuasion after a wheel banging incident like that. But it looks like Crab's getting on with it because he's getting 0.3 of a second on these two over the last half of the lap. But it is a risk when you get involved in physicality, especially with up 10 minutes to go, that you can lose these front two. And if I were Mills and Jarvis, I'd be trying to work together to break the gap and then fighting out between just the two of them.
Absolutely. You can see that there's been so much hip and shoulder go on. All the cars seem to have a bit of damage over the right rear wheel. That fender looks like it's you know, that someone's doing some NASCAR aero tuning on these cars, because there's a good dent on this. But look, the back markers, we've mentioned them before. I wonder whether they're going to play a big role in this motor race again today, because Tom Mills is approaching one.
Dan Webster's actually come onto the chat, Tom, and said that he did the damage that he received on lap 1 by Tom Mills didn't ruin his straight line speed. So when all those cars were just flying past him, maybe it wasn't indicative of the actual form. It was more to do with the aero damage that he received.
Absolutely, and even if it's not, look, the race driver will always blame his equipment. So look at this, Pravin Law, he's gone around the outside. So is that for position?
And that's a good move there by Pravin Law. He might be actually, no, in fact, he may be defending from Horatio Brown, because we saw Brown off. And we do have to remind the viewers at home, actually, that some of the drivers, like you were seeing Angus Waddell after he crashed into the wall earlier on, he's making his comeback through the field. The drivers are allowed one fast repair, because it's a competitive competition, but it's not a, you know, there is more of a fun element to it. So drivers do get one fast repair in order to continue on after any mistakes, and obviously they lose whatever time it takes to either tow back to the pits or drive their battered car back to the pits, which some of them have done. This is Tom Nuxall, who he did have some damage, and I don't think he's been in to fix his damage. But he can't be doing anything for his straight line speed, Tom, and you can actually see it on the screen. He's losing out several kilometers an hour. And Pianaszek again, who sometimes it looks like he's forgetting he's got the brake pedal available. just about realised in time, I think.
The last of the late breakers, and past Tom Nuxall. So of course Tom, brother of Joe Nuxall, one of our Californian racers. And look at this, on board now. So what will he do?
This is very ambitious.
It's awesome, isn't it? I'd love to know what kind of brake pedals he's using, because it looks stunning on board. He's calm, cool, collected. Just does it with ease. Runs a little bit wide on the exit there, but a stunning pass. So back up at the front.
I may be doing him a disservice, as I think Mills just hit the back of Jarvis there, you know. I wonder.
The big mover and shaker, though. Look at this. Paul Crabb in the lead now. So Crabb, who'd sort of gone off the boil a little bit, was dropping back there. Perhaps Tranter and Crab did work together. It's worked for Crab, whatever's happened. Because
Tranter is still there, and actually I will say, Tom, that Tranter has the cleanest car out of all 4 of these, so he might be in a really good position for the last 7 minutes.
Well, maybe that's his plan. Let these guys duke it out, crash and bash. I mean, look at these cars. They are looking really, really ragged. So we'll wait to see.
Let's have a look at Tranter's car. I just want to see the back of his car. Oh, he's got damage as well. So he's got similar damage to the others. But he's just in slipstream range. You can see his relative just ticking down by a tiny bit at a time. So he is still in range. It looks like it's about 1 second to get a toe as Jarvis tries round the outside of Crab into the bus stop chicane. Crab denies him this time and sets off on another lap. Lap 14 begins. 35-minute race, so we should get 3 more laps around the Francorchamps circuit. And what a 3 laps it could be, Tom. I reckon this is the calm before the storm.
Absolutely, and a quick shout out to one of the back markers they were just passing, Brendan Wright, another Californian real world competitor. He's having a reasonably lonely run aside from those front runners passing him, but Brendan joined us last weekend for the SR3 XX launch on R Factor.
Oh,
so
no! It's Jarvis Crab.
So what's happened? In front of Brendan Wright, all the action we can see there. The car of Jarvis on the side of the track.
Here we
Here's
go.
the replay.
Here indeed is the action then. Jarvis. So he gets the run on Crab. Crab holds the inside. He's right on the white line. And his Mill's going to hit. Oh, they all just converged, Tom. I don't think that's anybody's fault. I just think they all.
I think
Jarvis moved slightly
if anything,
right.
Though, if anything, Tom Mills just bump drafting there. I mean, look, it's.
Was he bump drafting? Oh, that's a bit silly.
He was. I mean, the trouble is, at some point you need to pop, and he doesn't have much room. The car in front moving around, but yeah, I think just look, it was a love tap. It wasn't. I don't think he was meant to be shoving him, serving him out of this motor race.
It was a bit daft, though, wasn't it? I mean, on the fastest part of the course, not really the best place to. Well,
yeah.
It's not really a good place to do. These cars, though, Tom, they're not really. They're not designed for that kind of thing, really.
No, I mean the radical in the real world, you can afford to hip and shoulder just a little bit. A little bit of rubbing can be racing, as Patrick Wilmot finds out all about that.
Bump drafting really isn't smart. The chat's saying that we didn't see it. At first it looked like a racing incident to me. I will say that, but having watched the replay, it looks like it wasn't. So obviously it wasn't. So there you go.
Yeah, I must say, I don't think you'd be doing that in the real world. If you were, you would be hoping that the car doesn't react like this SR8 model does in iRacing. And, of course, an older version, so a bit of an older physics model, if you like, in iRacing. We're looking forward to having some new models on iRacing shortly. And I mentioned before...
Tranter's going for the lead, Tom. And Mills is... Oh, come on. You can't weave around like that.
Oh, this is getting Formula One-esque, isn't it? The guys are getting racy. They're weaving around. They're trying to break the draft, trying to keep their fellow competitors at bay. Tranter, though, you picked it. You picked it, Andrew. Mark Tranter in the lead of this motor race with a clean car. So Tom Mills, with all the work to do, Paul Crab also looking racy. I got to say, though, if I was David Jarvis, all by my lonesome, I think I would be just trying to keep it clean, because these guys could easily take themselves out, couldn't they?
Jarvis was lucky that he wasn't out of the race, and it wasn't his... And Dan Webster's completely right on the chat, by the way. I agree with everything he's saying. You don't bump draft people at 150 miles an hour in a sports car. I don't think you do. I raced in Le Mans 24 hours a couple of years ago, and I was doing the spotting very late at night, maybe 2, 3 a.m. and somebody bump drafted my colleague Alex Simpson on the run to Indianapolis and basically cost us about an hour of repairs. So I think it's stupid anyway. And well, there you go. Here's
this is turning into a go-kart race.
Here's Mills up the inside of Tranter then, and Tranter very, very careful in his approach, and it's actually working out beautifully for him. You know, I've seen him racing quite a few times over the last few weeks.
Mark Tranter, one of our real-world competitors.
Crab's up the inside.
Oh, so close.
Crab trying to make potentially a decisive move on the last lap.
Yeah, that's an opportunity. Perhaps an opportunity just to unsettle the driver in front. So Tom Mills now, he's got some work to do. Can he close the gap to Mark Tranter? Can he keep Paul Crab behind? I think Crab's going to get a great run. Look at this. So Crab, I wouldn't be surprised if he can get into the lead there. Swarming all over the back or the straightaway here. Tom Mills pops. Paul Crab just holding back. What can he do? Mark Tranter.
Oh, Mills
there's a little bit of a touch. Can they give each other a little bit of racing room? They do. Fantastic stuff. Fantastic driving by Mark Tranter.
Mills is going to get alongside into the Rivage though, and he sends it in. Bit of understeer. You always get understeer in that corner, and he runs a little bit wide. And Mills very, very wide. He's taking no prisoners with the track limits now on the final lap. Let's see then, we still got the run through Pouon up to the Fanish chicane, then Stavelot, and then the run through Blanchimont into the bus stop chicane. The bus stop chicane, of course, will be the final overtaking opportunity. Nice to see Sam Fitzpatrick on the chat. Anyway, as always, in the last lap though, in the Radical Cup iRacing Invitational, Andrew Woodhouse and Tom Drew with you. The Paul Crab! And Tranter is in the gravel.
So Paul Crab, you could see him, he tried to get huge amounts of track on the outside of that corner. He was trying hard, but he's come unstuck. So Tom Mills is by his lonesome. The 21 of Tom Mills is rounding these final few corners. He can keep it clean. He can just calm down now. Tom Mills is going to take the win here at Spa-Francorchamps. A fantastic drive. There's a little bit of biff and barge, but he's celebrating now. Congratulations. Tom Mills takes the win in round 5 of the iRacing Invitational.
Well, Mills certainly clubbed his way to victory. I think he at one stage hit everything that moved, but managed to get to the end indeed. And here comes Pianacek, who's trying to last the late breakers again. It's not going to work this time. And he can't. Oh dear me! Well, he's trying one too many there. Tom Nuxall survived that assault and goes through. Darrell Taylor goes through, and he's going to take 8th place on the line. Pianacek again proving that I don't think the brake pedal is quite where he believes it is. But there it goes. Anderson gets 9th in the end then. So a good drive again from Matt Anderson. We see it every single. We see every single week that Matt Anderson seems to pick places up when other people fall by the wayside.
Yeah, and Patrick Wilmont having a good run.
Yeah.
So Patrick Wilmont.
17 positions gained.
Yeah, great job, 16th position. So Drew Altman, the number 1 on the side of his car from Florida. And damage on the back corner.
Oh, there he goes.
Yeah, a big moment for him. So the driver's pushing hard on this last lap. Jan Sotelo from Texas. A great paint job on his car.
Yeah, I think, Tom, he was the one who we saw in the gravel on the first lap when there was that other business, when Paul Clark got flipped over. I think he might have come to grief a bit earlier and maybe has had to fight back because he's gained 12 places from where he started on the grid. But he's going to be the one who comes across the last one potentially. Marcus Zunker is just ahead of him, but he's going to run out of time in order to win.
That's right. So 20th place, Marcus Zunker. Then it was Jan Sotelo. Brendan Wright, who we mentioned, joined us for the SR3 XX launch on R Factor 2 last week. Fantastic to see the new car. If you want to check out the new SR3 XX, this car's just been launched in the real world. In fact, we're building the first ones in the factory right now. First one in the world will be going to Matt Graham in Canada. So shout out to Matt. I know he's excited. He joined us as well for that event last week on R Factor 2. But you can test out the brand new Radical machinery on R Factor 2 right now. It's ready for download. So check that out. Of course, if you want to test out the Legacy SR8, this is the car that got the long-held lap record around the Nürburgring and frustrated quite a few road car companies in doing so. This is the car that iRacing has, and it's been exciting racing from it today. It is an awesome beast. Those flames flying out the back of the car, huge performance, sort of LMP3 performance around a circuit like this. So 400 horsepower in the real world, and certainly it was awesome to see Tom Mills use all of that to great effect. So hopefully we can bring up the results in just a moment, and you can take us through those, Andrew.
Yeah, I certainly can. Terrific race. I mean, Mills, you could argue that he got lucky and that he was quite forceful out there, but well, in the end, if the stewards don't have a problem with it, which we may remain to be seen, but he takes the win by 8 seconds, and it looks comfortable on paper, but it certainly wasn't. David Jarvis in the end gets second place, as it happened. He was in second place when he was crashed out, but Mark Tranter takes third, and Paul Crabb in fourth. I tell you, Tranter and Crabb, I think they could have done something, and really, the fact that they were fighting amongst themselves ended up being their downfall. Of course, Inigo Anton, and the man from the Philippines, did a fantastic job. Started in 11th place, finished in 5th. Cyril Stanky in 6th. Tom Nuxall 7th. Daryl Taylor in 8th. Matt Anderson 9th. Premislav Pianazek, who did his best Daniel Ricciardo impression, sometimes and as is with Danny Rick, sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't, but he finishes in 10th. JJ Aston in 11th. Angus Waddell in 12th. Austin Riley 13th. Darren Leung in 14th. He gained the most places out of anybody today. 23 places gained from his grid position. Joshua Peacock in 15th. Patrick Wilmot 16th. Patrick Jamin in 17th. Drew Altman 18th. And then 19th was Paul Clark. 20th, Marcus Zunker. Jan Sotelo in 21st. Then the cars one lap down on more. Brendan Wright in 22nd, then Joe Nuxall, Jacek Sialonka, Kamari Odom. We didn't see much of him today. Jeremy Franco in 26th, and 27th was Chris Short. Pravin Law in 28th, and then it was 29th for Horatio Brown. Gerhard Watzinger 30th, Nathan Brumby 31st, 32nd Alex Ellis, then Dan Webster in 33rd, Dave Tweedley 34th. Ben Ireland, he retired as well, as did Nathan Jones. Nick Bain, we didn't really see much of him, or Ross Elliott, who in fact was the first one out on the opening lap, Tom. So that was yes, very, very eventful indeed. And
it was.
Hey, look, say what you want about some of the driving. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, the driving was fast and furious, wasn't it? But really good to see. And it's amazing when you look at some of those names down the list, the likes of Gerhard Watzinger and a few others. These are guys that race the SR8s in the real world and have before. But amazingly, they've also been over to Spa. We mentioned that Race the World concept before. We see a lot of radical drivers learning their craft locally, whether it's their local club racing, their country club racetrack, and then literally putting the helmet in the bag and maybe even a seat insert, coming over to Europe or going off to Australia for Bathurst, to the Middle East, to Asia, and trying out the bucket list track with a local radical team, a radical dealer. So it's fantastic that really apart from Porsche and Ferrari Challenge, Radical is one of the only other manufacturers to offer that racing across the globe on multiple continents. And great to see so many of these guys joining us with some of the top iRacers, it has to be said.
Yeah.
And some others that are big talents. You know, we didn't quite see some of the Radical guys back in the factory sort of shine light on themselves today, but we often do. So it's great to see such a diverse field and someone like Tom Mills to take the win. I'm hoping that we can speak to some of these drivers in a minute. Hopefully we can bring someone into the commentary booth and just get some feedback, just a little understanding of what it was like in the cockpit for that one, because I'm sure there was some sweat on the brow and some swearing coming out of a few of those mouths.
Oh, I can imagine the 4-letter words were out in full force. I think we need to get a word with. I'm going to try and get a word, if I can, with David Jarvis, as he was the highest finisher that we currently have. Tom, yeah, we've got David in the commentary box.
David, what could I say? A brutal race, a really tough fought battle out there for you today.
Sorry, can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
David, we can now. Thank you. So a tough fought battle out there. It was sort of like gladiators of the bitumen today.
Yeah, it was a good race. It was maybe a little bit too intense. Some of the driving was a little bit too aggressive, in my opinion. I was kind of hanging back a lot of the time, trying to play it safe and waiting for an incident behind or in front, depending on where I was at the time. But it was good fun and intense and exciting being nonetheless.
Well, you came back after a fairly big moment mid-race and back to second place. So it was a pretty amazing performance from yourself.
Thank you. It was one of those things, I think, where I got hit up the straight. Obviously, there was nothing I could do. Just I think, following a little bit too close, whoever it was that hit me. And I was quite lucky that I managed to 360 it, rattle against the barrier and carry on without too much damage. I think I lost about 3 seconds a lap after that, but luckily there was a gap behind, so I was able to keep it clean and wait for carnage that was inevitable to happen in front of me. And
David, just tell us a little bit about yourself. Obviously from the United Kingdom, but you seem to be rather proficient on the iRacing.
Thank you. I've done it for quite a while. I've done a lot of karting in the past, and I've owned a Radical SR3 and a Radical Club Sport, and I've done a bit of Formula Renault back in the day when Kimi Räikkönen was doing it as well. And just love the iRacing. Gives pretty realistic experience. One of the things that was very interesting, I'm going to go off on one here, was when I had my SR3, Angus Waddell, who was also in this grid, or the pole sitter in fact, had a go in it as well around Silverstone, and the only practice he had was iRacing on the SR8, and he was pretty much bang on the pace within about 20 laps. It was really quite interesting.
It is amazing how things transfer, isn't it, across from the virtual world to the real world. We were mentioning in the broadcast that the new SR3 XX has just been launched on R Factor, and a big deal with the new car is utilizing all the new AIM systems, which actually allow you to now take your data out of iRacing, out of R Factor 2, and literally transpose it with your real world data. So the simulators are now can be completely used as a tool for training yourself for the real world.
Wow, that's amazing. That'd be quite something to try.
So, what was it like racing with Kimi Räikkönen?
I said I did Formula Renault, a bit of Formula Renault. I didn't actually race. I did test. The budget did not allow for that. But what I've found now is I race a karting series that's well within budget called FP4K. Find them on Facebook. You can actually race the whole series for under £1,000 once you own the kart, and that's a 10 race series. So it's pretty cool, and that's at F4 Kart on Facebook.
Oh well, great plug there.
Things like that, David.
You're not allowed.
What's that?
I think, Andrew, he was saying you're not allowed to change tyres, so a great plug. But that's the great thing about spec racing, isn't it? And whether it's the SR1 series in England, the Radical Cups around the world, spec racing is extremely affordable motorsport. Of course, affordable too on iRacing, with just a few dollars spent and not a lot to spend on the crash damage, even after a race like this. Well, David, thanks for your time today. We appreciate you coming and playing with us, and we look forward to seeing you at the final round. Of course, being a top 5 finisher, we'll see you at the final round at Road America next week.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Take care, guys.
Well, David Jarvis there, good to hear from him, and now hooefully we can speak with Mark Tranter. And Mark, first of all, can you hear me?
I can, yeah.
Well, welcome back to the booth yet again, and that looked like a very, very fun race. And was it just a case of for you trying to conserve the car as much as possible for some battles at the end?
Yeah, I think so. I could see what was potentially going to happen ahead of me. The voice chat was a bit sort of busy, and I felt that just stick back and might lose a few on the way and make my way forwards towards the end. Made my move a little bit early on a lap too soon, but hey-ho.
Yeah, looked like Tom Mills was kind of bouncing off a few people as he made his way to the front, and then you and Paul Crabb got together on the last lap. Yeah,
I think I just sort of broke a bit earlier than Paul was expecting me to, and got into the back of me. It's just one of those things. Not holding it against him.
I think we see.
So, Mark.
Sorry, Tom.
No, Mark. I was just wondering. We saw just this amazing racing. It was a freight train slipstreaming, everyone vying for position. I think just about everyone had a go at leading this motor race. But it just reminded me so much, with the exception of the crash and bash, of real world radical racing. It was just awesome to see so many people fighting it out for the win.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of the great things about radicals is that you can have really close racing, and I think today showed that. Even in qualifying, there was groups of people going around leading each other out for a lap.
So, Mark, just take us back. You mentioned that perhaps you just played your cards a little too early there. We mentioned on the broadcast that around this track it was going to be like a bit of a game of chess, that it was going to be about positioning yourself, working out where you needed to be on that last lap. So how were you trying to do that, compute that in the motor race?
I don't think I was, to be honest with you. When I got into the lead, I sort of wasn't expecting it, and looked at how long to go, and I realised we're on the penultimate lap. And at that point, I was sort of thinking, I've probably played my hand too soon here now, knowing that they'd both have the slipstream on the Kemmel. So yeah, it's just one of those things, and I sort of lost track of time.
Well, you'll get one more chance at it, mate. Next week, Road America. Just 1 week before we have the real world race. I'm looking forward to seeing some of the Americans who join our series and join me in the real world, and how they'll go. Of course, iRacing just updating the Road America circuit as well. So fantastic timing to be finishing this season off there at Wisconsin. I'm looking forward to a bratwurst in the real world. I'm sure you're looking forward to heading underneath the Johnsonville Bridge in the virtual one.
I hate to break it to you, Tom, but it's gone. The bridge.
Is that
They've
right?
got-
That's
changed
amazing.
it, yeah, on this
They've changed the
update.
livery. Well, that really does. Yeah, I don't know what we're going to do then
Sorry.
for hospitality. No more sausages. So
There's cheese, I guess.
there's cheese. That's right. There's cheese. So, well, Mark, I wonder if there's any other drivers out there, and Andrew, that we can speak to whilst we look. Mark, just any final thoughts from you for today?
I think it was just a fantastic race, and I think we put on a show for everyone watching.
Well, you did indeed. Congratulations again on a podium finish.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, well done, Mark. And we've got Tom Mills here. Tom, I just need to go away for 30 seconds, but I will be back. Just a moment.
All right, so Tom Mills, Tom Drewer, you're in the commentary box. That was a tough race. I guess you may need to explain yourself to a couple of people out there, but it looked like it was just really hard. Everyone was racing within inches, and sometimes that inch went away.
Yeah, well, from my point of view, I didn't touch anyone. So like up the first straight, where the crash was, from my point of view, the person in front of me just sort of drifted into the guy on my right, and from where I was driving, I didn't touch him. And then there were some other misjudgments behind, and that left me free to take the win.
Well, that's good to hear. I mean, it's always tough from our perspective in the commentary box, watching the cameras. You know, I know that on iRacing 2, there's sometimes a bit of netcode can play havoc or wreak havoc with competitors. But it was an awesome drive in the end, mate. You came up through the pack. What was it like trying to race these guys lap after lap? You know, everyone seemed to be having a go at the lead.
Yeah, it was really tough because you knew if you were in the lead at the next straight, you knew it was going to be very difficult to stay in the lead because the toe is so strong. And that's why on the last lap, I didn't expect to win it because I got into the lead on the last lap, which wasn't my plan really. I wanted to stay second to have a go into the bus stop, but I got in the lead, and then I was just waiting to get overtaken down the next straight, and then I looked in my mirror and they had contact behind, and it gave me the win really.
Yeah, and so I guess you're now these credentials. You'll be vying for the seat in your father's car.
Yeah, that's the plan. I can't wait. I just 1 year too young at the moment.
Well, we'll be looking forward to you getting involved in radical racing. Clearly a lot of talent behind the wheel, albeit virtually, and looking forward to seeing how you translate that into the real world. It's great to see the real world livery with the Kevin Mills Racing colours. And yeah, I mean, just how serious are you taking this as we watch the replay of that incident on the straight? So, you know, what's it like when you're preparing for this race? How much testing are you putting in, week out?
None is the answer to that. I was struggling to get the setup, so there was no point in practicing with a different setup. So I would just rock up on the test on Thursday night and see what I had. And luckily, with the slight updates to iRacing, I was a bit faster with the new updates and new patches. So all of a sudden I was at the front, which took me by surprise.
Well, a pleasant surprise. Any final words there for the fellow racers and the guys that you're racing up front with today?
It was great race. It was very tough to stay at the front. If anyone thinks I did anything wrong, then I apologise for that. But from my point of view, I didn't do anything, and it could have just been netcode.
Well, spoken like a gentleman, and again, congratulations, taking your first win here in the Radical Cup iRacing Invitational. We'll look to see if you can make it back-to-back at Road America next weekend. And mate, until then, hopefully you'll the lack of practice will do you well then too.
Yeah, thanks for the broadcast.
Yeah, well done on the win to Tom Mills, and yeah, it was a feisty one out there. I think everybody think, his car did resemble a pinball at times, I think. But he did. Hey, look, he got the win, Tom, and that's all that matters, I guess, in the end. Well, not all
Yeah.
that matters, but you get what I'm saying.
Well, you tend to remember the winner, don't you? At the end of the day, whatever happens, whoever got the checkered flag seems to be the one that sticks in the memory books. You remember that result where Schumacher crossed the line in the pits, and there was a bit of controversy and what have you. He still won the race, and that's it really is amazing the fierceness, but it's the competition in racing that makes this sport so wonderful. The amount of pressure that's on every driver. You could see the mistakes today, the little moments, the cars running wide. These guys are racing absolutely tooth and nail. And from my perspective, maybe we didn't want to see quite as much crash and bash, but a worthy win and another fantastic event for the Radical Cup iRacing Invitational. Thank you to our sponsors, Blue Marble, of course, our global sponsors, Hankook and Motul, PFC Brakes. We'd also like to do a little shout out to our partner AIM, of course, with all the work they've been doing with us on the new SR3 XX. And check out that in R Factor 2. And other than that, we look forward to seeing you next week. Andrew, it should be an exciting one. I'll have to check out where the point score is, because round 6, the final round of this championship, there's going to be a championship on the line.
Yeah, something that's always fantastic to see. Drivers going for a title. And Road America is going to be the site for that one. So hopefully, ladies and gentlemen, you can join us for that one. And then, of course, it won't be too long until the Blue Marble Cocktails Radical Cup begins again, and I'm sure that's going to be a fantastic end to 2020. So from all of us here at Apex Racing TV, from Andrew Woodhouse, from Tom Drewer, and from Scott Newton on the cameras, it's good evening from Spa. Good night.